Well, today is 211 Day, February 11th, and it's a day set aside to celebrate 211 call centers across the country. Here locally, our area is served by 211 Eastern Oklahoma, which is run by the nonprofit agency Community Service Council. Jeremy Scott is the Chief Media and Community Engagement Officer at CSC, formerly our executive producer here on 6 in the Morning, and great to see you, Jeremy. This is a wonderful opportunity. Tell us how you all are celebrating 211 Day.
Well, it's great to see you from this side of the camera. It's awesome to be with you all today. 211 Day, like you mentioned, is a national a day to celebrate 211 call centers across the country. Here locally, anyone watching this right now is served by 211 Eastern Oklahoma, which, as you mentioned, is run by the nonprofit Community Service Council. And so every year we put together an event to educate the community about 211 Eastern Oklahoma, the services that we provide. And then this year we've themed our event Stronger Together, because I think the last few years with the pandemic has really shown all of us, especially us here at 211 Eastern Oklahoma, how important our partners are. And so we'll be highlighting some of those partners during our virtual event this morning, which is at 10 o'clock, so in 45 minutes. The benefit of a virtual event, of course, is that you can register and attend no matter where you are, so registration is still open. But during our event today, participants will learn a little bit about 211 Eastern Oklahoma, the services that we provide to our community. And then we'll also be sharing some comments from some of our partners. And that includes Dr. Bruce Dart from the Tulsa Health Department, who has been such an integral partner for us, the Tulsa Fire Chief, Michael Baker, Reverend Jeff Janes from Restore Hope Ministries, and others. And they're going to talk about their partnerships with 211 and how we've helped them and they've helped us over the past year and beyond.
Jeremy, share for those who aren't familiar with what 911 actually does. What do you provide for our community?
Well, 911, of course, is the call that, or the number that you call when you're in a serious emergency. But 211 is the number that you call when you're in a social emergency. So, where do you turn when you have a housing crisis, when you're facing eviction and you're not sure how you're going to pay your rent? Who do you call when you are facing food insecurity? You're not sure where you're going to get your next meal or where you're going to be able to get your next meal for your family. Utilities is a big reason people call 211. You can't pay your utility bill. You're afraid that your electric's going to get turned off. And then the last year and last couple years, really, a lot of people have been calling 211 asking for information about COVID, whether that's the COVID vaccine or COVID testing sites. And so those are the big reasons that people call 211. There are, of course, many others. But when you call 211, you'll be immediately connected with an actual person who will ask you some questions. One of the first questions they'll ask is what your zip code is. And they ask you that to pinpoint resources that are specific to your location. 60% of the calls we receive come from Tulsa County, but our 211 Eastern Oklahoma call center covers 37 counties. So if you're not in Tulsa County, if you're almost to the border with Arkansas, you're going to want a resource that's in your area, not a resource that's in Tulsa. And so that's why they'll ask you those questions and work with you to get you the most accurate and up-to-date information for where you live.
It's a great one-stop call to get a lot of different information. Tell us a little bit about the pandemic. I know that all nonprofits struggled. I know it impacted your organization as well. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic, like you said, is just it's kind of taken everybody aback, and you have to kind of reevaluate your operations. And with 211 Eastern Oklahoma, our call specialists were working in a call center before the pandemic. And of course, with physical distancing and precautions, we had to make some changes. And so our call specialists are now working from home or remotely. And they did that seamlessly. I mean, it happened so quickly that for people calling 211, there was no disruption in service. I've spoken with some of our call specialists who, some of them have home offices and can set up in the office. Others don't and live in a small apartment. And so they've cleared out a closet, and that way they have kind of a private place to take those calls without interruptions. And so what our call specialists have done to adapt to this has just been incredible. And when you think about the types of calls we receive at 211, when people call 211, it's because they're in crisis. They need help. And, when you're taking back-to-back calls like that, for our call specialists, I mean, it can have a pretty big impact on their mental health. And so our 211 call center goes through a number of ways of checking in with our specialists to make sure that their mental health, is addressed and that they're doing better. Janice Harris is our compassion fatigue specialist who works with them one-on-one if they need it. And so those are just some of the ways that the pandemic has impacted us. Of course, the call volume is the biggest thing. Back in 2018, we had 56,000 people call 211. Last year, we had 132,000.
Wow.
So we're seeing a huge increase in the people who are calling for assistance right now, and I think it just goes to show how important this resource is in our community.
And thank goodness that we had it during the pandemic, because it really caught everybody by surprise. The 211 Day Stronger Together event is this morning from 10 to 11, as Jeremy mentioned. It's virtual, registration's free. You can learn more and sign up right now by visiting csctulsa.org/211day. Great to see you, Jeremy. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Good to see you.